So I've just started recording. I'll crop it a little later.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going to admit all of our guests.
Awesome.
And I'm going to turn off the waiting room. So now everybody will just come in automatically.
Okay. Sounds good.
I was thinking, Tim, I can make you the host or the co-host if you want.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'll work.
But you can just share your screen as you please and stuff like that.
That works good.
And you have a presentation and everything to share.
I do. I'm gonna pop a PowerPoint up here in a second, and
right?
we'll get rolling. How long do you? I know we're a minute or two to 10. I'll let you guys kind of start when you feel everybody's here. We'll rock and roll.
Yep, that sounds great. And there's nothing after you guys either. So even if it goes a little long, no rush or anything.
All right.
But
do we have anyone in the room there besides you lovely ladies?
Yeah. Susan and Uki are here.
Awesome. Good.
So that's nice. Janice Ching's on her way. Janice is coming. I'm sure I'll have a few that I'll continue to send back and everything, but you're all set up. It's recording. I'm out there if you need me. I know Tim's going to share his PowerPoint here in a second. Okay. And he's a co-host as well, so we can just deal with it. I can help let people in the waiting room too if you want, Tim, if you want me to keep an eye on that. Yeah, I did turn it off.
You opened it up, I think, right?
Okay, perfect. So that's all.
Great. We got a few people on Zoom here with us. I see Maureen and James and Laura. All right. Do we wait another minute, guys, or I'll let you kind of lead on when you want to start?
Yeah, one more minute, Tim.
Okay, awesome. Anybody have any exciting wins going on they want to share? Something exciting going on this week?
Helen said that. Susan just said, "Oh, he must be a math coach."
Yes, indeed. I can't help myself.
I know.
Other than that, we should have some music playing or something, and then I wouldn't have to talk, right?
I know.
It's the dead air I can't stand.
Like your hair, Maureen. Done something different with it.
Say that again?
It's the bangs.
Yeah, I thought so. It's nice.
Oh, good. You weren't talking to me, Laura. I didn't do anything different with my hair, so.
Alex just got some wins. He's been doing all kinds of renovations at his house. I think, isn't that a new background wall behind you, Alex? Yeah.
That's Aaron's brainchild.
Very fancy. Love that.
Yeah.
That's the trend now, isn't it?
Yeah.
The accent walls.
Accent walls and dark black.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Dark colors. Love it. All right.
Great. I think we get started, Tim.
All right. Well, I am excited. So, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me in today. I am so thrilled to be with you guys virtually. You guys hear me okay? You good?
Yep.
Okay. Feel like there's a little bit of a lag on my end, but if you can hear me, we're good. But I'll introduce myself and kind of my background. I know some of you. I know I've been in some trainings. It's been a while. But my name is Tim Beaudoin. I am a MAPS leadership coach. So I have the honor and privilege of working and partnering with your fearless leaders, Melissa and Laura Lee. And so, I feel like I know your market center really well, and I feel like I'm part of your guys' family. So it's fun to be here with you guys today, and excited to have this conversation we're going to have this morning. I'll give you a little bit about my background too. Been a MAPS coach for it's going on my 9th year. So whoever said I must be a MAPS coach, yep, I've been a MAPS coach for a while. And I ask a lot of questions, so just be ready. And so been a MAPS coach for 9 years. I'm also an operating partner and team leader, so wear both hats. KWU faculty. So wear a lot of hats within the KW system, and operate out of the Washington, D.C. area. So excited to be with you guys in this conversation. So I'm going to actually just pivot here. I'm going to share my screen.
I'll
And
jump
we
in
will.
too. Tim and his wife Denise also run a real estate team.
Yes, thank you. I was going to
Those
just
other
go to
hats
that
that he
next.
wears.
You're right ahead of me on that. Yes, indeed. All right, so you guys see the slide up here. I see it in the training room, so we're good to go. So yeah, we also do that, and I'll tell you guys that the journey on that for me was a little unique. Actually started that team after I became a team leader. And I think the important thing in that is, as a team leader, and Laura Lee would agree with me on this, it's our responsibility to understand the models and the systems of Keller Williams at a really high level. Would you agree with that, Laura Lee?
She had to jump out on the call, but yeah.
Okay.
She would.
Well, if she were there, she would be in agreeing with me. I can guarantee that. So that's part of the journey, right? I learned this at a really high level as a team leader, really studying the MRE and the models. And I am wired, I am sure, like many of you, where, well, let me ask the question. I'm not going to make an assumption, right? Here's the coach asking a question already. How many of you are wired in a highly entrepreneurial way? Okay. Yeah, and that's why a lot of us get into real estate. Would you guys agree? Like, I was in the corporate world for a very long time, and I left the corporate world for a couple reasons. Number one is I couldn't control my own destiny, right? For me to have more opportunity or to grow or to move to another level, someone would either have to leave a position would have to be created, or someone would have to die, right? Like something would have to happen for me to move to that next level. Being highly entrepreneurial, I wanted to control my own destiny, right? I wanted to control my own income, and I wanted freedom, right? Because the other thing for any of you that have been in the corporate world, you don't have a lot of freedom, do you? Usually to move up, it requires more time. So you guys see where I'm going. So many of us got into this and we're highly entrepreneurial. Because we're highly entrepreneurial, how many of us tend to want to buck systems? I do. Anyone else? Yeah, I'm seeing some heads nod. Yes, that's okay. We can say that. That's kind of part of who we are, right? So those things kind of work hand in hand. I'm highly entrepreneurial. I tend to buck systems. I want to do my own thing. So what we're going to talk about today is really challenging us to look at systems the way Gary Keller coaches us to. And that was, for me, the turning point of operating a team that actually functioned at a high level, that wasn't more of a headache than an asset to me, and that actually moved forward, and I actually got time back. And actually grew our production and grew our team. Does that make sense, guys? Now, this, just full disclosure, this session we're doing today, Laura Lee, I'm sorry, Melissa, I think when we talked about this is kind of the introductory session, right? We're going to go through some things at a deep level, and then we're going to go through some other things at a high level. And then we are going to do a follow-up session. So if you get a lot out of this and you enjoy this, which I hope you do, you'll come back to that advanced session, right? And James is wanting to ask a question. Absolutely. James, you have a question. You want to open your mic up?
Hi, Tim. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to ask this question before we get underway, and I apologize if I miss it. I'm curious,
Yeah.
is this seminar mainly geared towards people wanting to start their own team or to potentially join a team?
I will tell you that it could be for either.
Okay.
It could definitely be for either. So what, if I can ask, what side of the fence are you on for you?
I'm not even that close to the fence, to be honest, but
Okay.
I'm curious, like I'm a newer agent within the last year, and I'm just curious about how teams work and the structure and the benefits and the drawbacks and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not looking to start my own team. If anything, I'm more curious about what is involved in the team structure.
Yep, you're in the right room, because we're
Okay,
definitely
great.
going to cover that. So
Super. Thank you.
yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question, because you're reading my script, because here's the thing. I did my introduction, so that's good. So that's my next slide. So James, you let us off, right? What are you looking to achieve in our time together? So would love to hear from you guys. So James, I'm clear why you're here, which is awesome. Anyone else want to share what you're looking to get out of our time this morning? This is where you guys can interact. Jump off mute.
Is it Umi?
Oh, I'm not hearing that. Is that from the training
Yeah.
room?
Yeah, Susan's just gonna move a little closer because our mic's not quite picking her up.
Awesome.
My goal was to be very quiet.
Your goal is to be very quiet.
Well, Tim, I would say for me, I have a small team. However, I do study systems and structures. I do more studying than doing. And so that's why I'm here, is I just want to learn more about how to move forward.
Okay, love it. Love it. And then you will take that and decide how you're going to apply that, right?
Correct.
I love it. Okay, perfect. All right, anyone else want to jump in? All right.
Umi's coming too, just a second.
All right.
I don't want to be too in front of the mic. You go ahead.
There, she should catch you now.
I've been debating whether starting a team is the way to go for me. And I'm just here to explore. I'm not sure if want to yet.
Okay, great. So you're in the exploration of should I do this or not? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So and Laura and the team there, if you can help me out, because with my slides up, I can't see the whole Zoom room. So if there's any questions, just jump off mute, guys. I'm really bad at managing the chat. I'm just going to say that up front. So if any chat, just that'd be awesome. So just jump in, because I want this to be interactive, guys, right? So to ask questions, jump in. We're amongst friends here, so we can do that. So, all right, cool. So let's jump in. So here's the thing, and I have this in all of my trainings, and this is our bold law, right? How we show up here is how we show up everywhere. What I mean by that is I want it to be interactive. So ask questions. Don't leave the meeting wishing you had asked something. Just jump in and ask. Okay. So we can all do that, and I know you guys will do that. So definitely do that. So here's where I wanted to start, guys. And we are, just for full disclosure, everything that's been mentioned, you guys are all in the right room, right? We are gonna attack all of those things, and we're gonna support you guys in what what you're thinking about or where you're at in your journey. And what's kind of cool is the representation of this room is pretty typical, right? Like when I do this in my market center or in other market centers in which I partner with, it's kind of this, right? People thinking, should I not? People thinking, James, like you, should I join a team? What would that look like? And then there's other people that are further along the journey. Now I will ask this question, since I'm not aware, is there anyone on the call that actually has a team right now? So is anyone on the call that has a team?
Self, Susan, and Cheryl Lynn, who's muted, she also has a team.
Okay, perfect. Because this will be a good session for you guys as well, because I'm gonna challenge everybody to kind of look deep into some different areas, right? And to challenge you guys maybe to think differently and to stretch you in some ways. So I'm glad you guys are here as well. So again, where I'm going to start this is, what is a team, right? And again, this is kind of like, well, right, we're gonna start with the fundamentals. What is a team? So this is the model, guys, right? And just for full disclosure, this is not Tim Beaudoin's model, right? This is Gary Keller's model. And this presentation actually was built out. One of the classes that I teach is called Business by the Book. Has anybody been to Business by the Book at all? I don't know if they brought it to Canada actually, or if anyone up there instructs it. And it's something I should probably, Melissa, you and I can talk about. But Business by the Book, guys, was a class that was created when, has anyone heard that Gary Keller might be doing an MREA2 book? Anybody ever hear that rumor ever in time? Yes.
For 8 years.
For 8 years, right. So here's
Yeah.
what happened, guys. Gary didn't write that book, and he's been busy doing other stuff, right? But what he did is he put out a course called Business by the Book. Business by the Book has some advanced models that were going to go into that book if it were ever written. And so what I'm going to present to you today, specifically around the organizational model, is the organizational model 2.0. Right. So some of you may not have seen this yet. Some of you may have. It's in different trainings, depending on what you've been to. But these are Gary's models, is my point, right? So we're going to dig deep into these. And fundamentally, nothing's changed. Like the MREA is still relevant. Would you guys agree with that? Like the MREA foundationally is still relevant, right? We've added some things to it. Times have changed. We have different lead gen strategies. We have different things, but the models are still relevant. So we're going to dig into those models and we're going to go into that next level. So Gary says a team is 2 licensees and an operations staff person. That would, in Gary, if you ask Gary, what is a team? That's how he defines a team. Now, what's interesting is, and I know this, you may have some of this in your market center as well. Some people go into a group, and a group is 3+ licensees. So it could be a group, or it could be a partnership. And what I'm going to share with you is a group and a team are very different things, right? A group of agents is just a group that gets together and collaborates, right? And there's pros and cons to this, and we're not going to talk a lot about groups today. We're going to focus on the team piece. But a lot of times people they mix those things up, right? Well, I have a team. Well, what does your team look like? Well, it's a couple agents, a handful of agents doing their own thing. That's not a team. You guys with me? So I think it's important to first define what a team is. So let's keep going. Building a team versus teaming up. What are the pros and cons? Well, and this is what we're going to dig into. I'm gonna blow through some of these slides, guys, because we're gonna dig into this. So when you think about a team foundationally, and this is where I want to get some interaction from you guys. Before you would consider, and again, Alex, I know, sorry, James, you were talking about, do I go on a team? So we're going to go through some things on how teams are structured. So kind of filter that information in the sense of, if I were joining a team, what would that look like? And it'll make sense and come together. But when you look at foundationally, the thought of building a team, or going down the road of building a team, what are the foundational pieces you need to be able to do that, right? So where I'm going with this, guys, is, you could sit down on one day and say, hey, gosh, it'd be great to start a team. I'm going to go do that, right? We're talking about what you need to do to actually make that happen, right? Because there's some foundational pieces you need to have in place. So looking at this slide, like how do you guys define a lead in the context of a team? What does a lead look like? What do you guys think? So what's a lead? Just foundationally, what's a lead, guys? You all know this.
Anyone who shows interest in real estate.
Exactly. Anyone that shows interest in real estate, right? That would be a lead. And then we can talk about what's a qualified lead and all of those things, right? So would you guys agree that if we're going to have a team, there's got to be a value proposition?
Absolutely.
Would you guys agree with that?
Yes, 110%.
So leads can be one of those value propositions, right? Notice I say can. It's not, it must be, it can, right? So some people, James, I'm gonna pick on you for a second, if that's okay. I normally don't do this, but so for you, if you don't mind sharing, like what possibly attracts you to a team? Like, why might you want to join a team if you're thinking about it?
Well, I'm not necessarily thinking about it. I'm just gathering information today.
Okay.
But from what I know is it helps with lead generation. That's
Yes.
one thing that one advantage to being on a team.
Yep. Thank you for going there, because that's where I was going, guys, right? A lot of folks looking to join teams, and there's no right or wrong, good or bad in this at all, guys, right? It's a model. A lot of people are looking for leads, right? And would you agree in this market overall, people are looking for leads that we're in? Yeah, right. Your market's like mine. People like as a team leader, that's one of the things I hear all the time, right? So we know what a lead is, and we're going to tie this together, right? We're going to tie this together in terms of how we create value proposition. So we're clear what a lead is. So guys, when you look at a model, what is a model?
Structure
What is
to
a
follow.
model?
Structure to follow.
Structure to follow. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I would add to that, I love that, is it's a proven structure. Right? It's a proven structure. And that's why, within Keller Williams, I don't know about you guys, one of the things that attracted me to Keller Williams is this red book that Gary wrote. Right? I'm like, wow, this is not, and the cool thing about how Gary wrote this book, how did Gary write the MREA, guys?
He interviewed agents.
He interviewed agents. Yeah. So it's not,
Put me with the mic, I know
Yeah.
all the answers.
Gary Keller's a pretty smart guy, but he interviewed agents. He interviewed top agents that were performing at a high level in these different areas, right? So that's the beauty of what we have at Keller Williams, right? Is we've got so that is the model, right? Our model is the MREA, and what we're focusing specifically on today is the organizational model, right? So that's a model. It's a proven system, right? Because would you guys agree? There's a lot of models out there. I mean, you could go out and Google, real estate team models, and would you not have a bunch of stuff that would come up? Right? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. These are proven models. So that's a model. And then, we talked about what's a team, but I'd love to just throw that question to you guys too. Like, when you think of team, what is a team fundamentally?
Tim, can I give a quote?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Why do people join teams? The only reason any two people get into business together is because they believe by doing such, they will both accomplish their goals quicker and easier. It's by Liz Landry.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Are you part of Liz's talent group?
I am.
Awesome. Yes. Liz is a MAPS coach too. That is so good. Yeah. That's spot on, right? Like that's a key foundation to it, right? So, and here's the thing, a team are people moving together to the same goal, right? A team is people moving together the same goal. And we get into a values conversation, right? Do they share values?
Hour and a half and talk my values, for sure. I agree.
Yep. So these are just foundational questions, guys, just to get us thinking. So here's the last question, right? What is the business itself we're planning, right? So meaning, if this is a journey you're thinking about, right? Like, gosh, should I do this? Should I not? I think you have to step back for a second and really get clear on what it is that you're looking to achieve, right? So I'm going to take you back to something that some of you may or may not have, but it's the mission and vision of why you're doing what you're doing. So I'll give you guys an idea of a model in this. So if you've not done this, I would highly recommend this as homework. So in a market center, right, leadership team in a market center, and I'm going to put Melissa on the spot now because I can, but in the market center, the OP's role is to cast the mission and vision of the market center. Right. So Melissa, I know you have that because we talked about that, right? So that's the why we're doing what we're doing and the impact. And then we're all in the OP's always looking 3 to 5 years out. Right? Like, where do I want to be in the future? And then any decision you make in terms of should I or shouldn't I, in this context, it's should I start a team? Should I not start a team? What does that look like? Should be run through the lens of what's my mission and vision? Where do I want to be 3 to 5 years out? Right? Because here's the thing that happens too. I think you guys would agree. Are there a lot of shiny objects out there?
Yes.
Yes, a ton. So when you have a filter, you can filter the opportunities through that. Right? So about opportunities, there's two things I always say, right? You first have to qualify for the opportunity, and then you have to qualify the opportunity. Right? You first have to qualify for the opportunity, and then you have to qualify the opportunity. Does it fit in your vision? So in the sense of what we're talking about today, make sure you're clear on where you want to be 3 to 5 years out and what's the impact you're looking to make through what you're doing. Because it may help you decide what's the best course. Like I've gone through this with some of my agents guys that have wanted to start teams, and they're like, you know what? Based on that coaching, it doesn't fit with where I want to go. I'm like, okay, great. So what are we going to do moving forward? They're like, well, maybe I'll just bring in one admin. Right? Maybe I'll just bring in one admin and leverage that way. Or maybe I'll use transaction coordination and leverage that way, right? If they're looking to get time back. So what do you guys think as I say that? Does that make sense where I'm going with that? What comes to mind for you? And are you clear on that 3 to 5 year plan, where you want to be? What are you guys thinking?
Why I'm in the room.
Good. All right, good. So do you feel like you need to articulate that better for yourself, or do you feel like you have that already?
No, better articulation for sure. I have it all
Okay.
in my head. Putting it in writing is a whole different beast.
Yep. Yep. So I think the first thing you have to get clear on, and this is something that, you've got your leadership team, you've got, this is a small group. I'll put myself out there. If I can support any of you one-on-one in this journey around this conversation, I'm willing to help as a coach. But that's, I think, the first thing. If you're not clear on that vision and mission of why you're doing what you're doing, I think that's a really good starting point. And then everything else is you just run through that filter. So that's what is the business we're planning, right? What is it that we're looking to achieve? All right. So we already kind of defined this. These are the definitions, obviously, that Gary gives, right? Name, contact, intent, and the lead. The model is, how can I do this versus how is this done? That's really a key piece as well, guys, right? As entrepreneurs, we ask the question, how can I do this? Right? There's a lot of us on this screen, I'm sure, that are what I call achiever leaders. Achiever leaders are people that grind and just do it. Anybody like that just, like you just get it done, right? You're like, I'm not gonna rely on anybody else. I run hard, I get it done. Probably working a lot of hours, all those things. That's an achiever leader. So that's the how can I do this versus what I'm going to challenge you guys to look at is, how is this actually done? How is it done means the model, right? And then we'll talk about who do I work through to achieve that. We talked about what is a team, what is the business we're planning. And this goes back to the mission statement, right? So we just talked about the mission statement. So it's your personal mission statement, why you do what you do, and then a mission statement for your business, right? How many of you guys are working on or utilize a GPS or a 135? Just a raise of hands. Okay. So that's another thing I'd suggest is that's your one-page business plan. So once you've got your mission and vision, then you can build your GPS, because your goal should fuel your mission and vision, right? So here's a question I ask a lot, guys, just to put this into context. When you set a goal, so think about your goal for this year, right? Whatever your goal is for this year for your production. So someone just come off mute and tell me what their goal is. What's your goal in your business this year?
My goal is to close 6 deals.
Okay, so 6 deals for you. Okay, so what does closing 6 deals do for you, James?
Boost my confidence.
Okay.
Gains me invaluable experience, and puts money in my pocket.
Okay, love it. And then what is
In
all
no
that
particular
do?
order.
Okay. So what do all those things do when you achieve those things?
Allows me to continue expanding my goal.
Okay. So your production goal?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then what is all that fund for you?
Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so where I'd keep going with this, guys, is like, ultimately, what is it? We're not going to do that here, but what is it that what does life mean, right? Like, what's the ultimate goal behind it? What's the impact that all this provides, right? That goes back to the mission statement. So when you're clear on that, then you can articulate the goal. Because I might say to James, and I'm not gonna do this live, but I might say, why 6? Why'd you pick 6? Why not 10? Why not 4? Right? Like, what's the impact to the actual number as it feeds to your vision and mission? Does that make sense, guys? I know the market center's been through this, because that's how we talk about goals. So when we're running a business, guys, right, we've got the mission statement. We're not going to dig into these areas, but I want to mention them. You're going to have a profit and loss statement, right? Especially if you're running a team, you need a profit and loss statement. You need a budget. You have well-defined, systematic, predictable lead generation systems that could be handed off to someone else to manage, right? Because leads are part of that value proposition. They don't have to be. We'll dig into that. We have business action plans. We have the 1-3-5, which we just talked about. And then we have that database, right? We've got to have the database built and ready to go with people that know and like and trust me. So this is the idea of that foundational piece of how to build the business. So I'm going to keep plowing ahead. All right. So when we talk about models, guys, and this is, if you notice kind of where we're going, this is a setup for where we're actually going to dig into some of the foundational models. But I just want to stress at the onset, like, why it is we want to follow models, right? So with models, we know that success leaves clues. That's why I loved reading the MRA. I'm like, oh my gosh, here's people that have done this at a high level before me. And I don't have to create the wheel. I can just go in and I can utilize the models, right? The organizational model, the team model's right there, right? Actions are the source of all results. Right. So we know we have to get into action, and discovering what people do to lead to specific results is called modeling. So by definition, that's what we're talking about, right? We're looking at those specific actions. And then Gary goes on to say, modeling is the pathway to excellence. It's the way to leverage the knowledge and experience of others. Modeling excellence requires that you act as an investigator curious about paths that others take. So that's where we have to fight that urge, right, as entrepreneurs, to the old, like, we have a better way to do it, right? Does anyone else fight with that sometimes? They're like, yeah, I know, but I could do it that way, or I could shave some of the steps off. Like, it doesn't have to be that, right? I'm not alone in that, right? All right. So this comes from MREA. This is just another way to look at it, guys, right? And this is, again, this entrepreneurial journey where a lot of us start is that, and Gary calls this the hobo shack in the MREA, but where he starts is with where a lot of us start is with that unstable foundation, right? Because we're putting creativity in front of models. I see this a lot, guys, in this conversation we're having right now, right? In my own market centers, and in those that I coach, because we're entrepreneurs, right? We want to put our own creativity first. So you can see, right, visually, the stable foundation starts with the models, and then you add your creativity on top of the models. That makes sense, guys? So you guys have probably all seen this, right? You're all aware of this model. So let's keep plowing ahead. So here's the thing, guys, too, and we're gonna dig in tactically on the next slide around this. But when we look at achievement, right, the difference between an event and a system, right? And I coach a lot around this too, right? And this idea that anyone can have a great year. How do you stack good years one after the other, right? I don't want to call it luck, because it may not be luck, or it may, maybe the market may not be the market, but an event might be 1 year, right? So a system means that you can systematically do the same thing over and over and over again and duplicate it. Why? Here's a question I just want to ask you guys. Why do sometimes we get challenged with systems, right? Because when something is systematized, it's the same. You guys with me? So it's doing, the analogy I use is if you were in a factory, right? Imagine you're working in a factory and you're on an assembly line, right? and you're building a car, right? And if you work in a factory on an assembly line, you're going to go into to work every day, and you're going to likely do the same thing. Are you guys with me? So maybe my job is to, put the door on the car. So every day I'm going to go in, I'm going to put the door on the car, and it's the same process, right? Like, it's not going to change. Door's still the same, all the tools are still the same. Why do we as entrepreneurs get challenged with systems like that? What do you guys think?
We get bored.
You get bored, yes, extremely. Can you imagine putting, no offense to somebody that puts doors on cars, but can you imagine putting a door on a car every day? Like, oh my gosh, yeah. Dreadful to me. Yeah, it's boring, right? It is boring. This is where Gary challenges us within a system. Fight that, right? Because with the boredom comes success. The minute we get out of that, and the reason we get out of systems is, yes, because we get bored, and then we want to get, going back to this slide, guys, then we want to get creative, right? So I'm going to do it this way. So my point is, until we adapt the models and implement them, we don't want to get creative. This is how we get unstable as entrepreneurs, is because we all fight this, right? I do too. All right. So, and many of you have probably seen this before, but I think this is a brilliant model, because we work on our natural ability. We all have this, what we talk about, ceiling of achievement, right? So models are what help us break through to that ceiling. Some of us have a really, really tall ceiling, like there's some really talented people on this screen. And so you can go up pretty high just on natural ability, right? Eventually, though, there is a law, and it's like gravity, right? None of you would argue with me if I dropped a book, it wouldn't hit the floor, right? That would be ridiculous. You're like, yes, the book will hit the floor if you drop it. It's a law. It's called the law of gravity. This is the same thing. There's the law of natural ability. Eventually, every single person will hit a ceiling just based on natural ability. So that's where the models come in. The models is what help you break through, and then you create a new ceiling of achievement, right? So this is an ongoing process in our life, right? This is an ongoing process in our life. We implement those models, we will hit another ceiling. Then we need to improve our models, right? This is the importance too, guys. If we're going to start a team, we've got to understand and document what it is we're doing, because we can't improve our models within a team if we don't have them documented, right, guys? So we improve our models, we break through again. So you can see where that goes. What do you guys kind of see in your, kind of reflecting in yourselves as you look at this models? Anyone want to share any feedback or anything that you're thinking as we're going through this piece of this? What are you reflecting on? Because they're all deep in thought, I can see.
Tim,
Yes.
for me, one that helped me really get into models, and this is another MAPS coach, Monica Reynolds.
Yes.
Doing her administration course along with my administrator, like, it really helped me get tactile in a way that I needed as a learner, because it started with my manual, and then my systems fit in my manual now, because she gave me her model to structure, my policies, my vision, my structure everything.
Yep.
Now
I love that. Yeah. It's the structure. And when you hire an admin, this is one of the things we'll talk about, is one of the first things they should do is basically follow you around.
Right.
It sounds odd.
And that forces a learning all in itself, right? To what you
Yep.
need, because you have another person there that has different needs and a different way of being. So I really needed to get some structure that would be common to everybody.
Yeah.
That helped me.
Yep. That's spot on. Like, my rock star director of operations is actually on our call. She's with me everywhere, Camille. And that's what I had her do. Like, she's on all of my calls. She's like, and everything is documented, and it's helped me tremendously, because when we're in our day, guys, we're in our day, right? We're just going. Would you guys agree? Like, we're just making stuff happen, right? And when you have somebody actually documenting what you're doing and you come back and you reflect on that, that's really eye-opening, isn't it? It sounds like for you, that's what you had.
Yeah, I could catch it then. I could really catch
Yep.
it. And I got another perspective that stopped me because you know, some of us have attention deficit.
Oh yeah. Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay.
Well, good. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to keep going. And again, guys, we're going to share the recording and I'm going to share all the slides. So this one, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. I did put this in here, but this is what Gary talks about, is thinking like a high achiever, right? But I do want to focus on a couple of these and think powered by a big why. This is what we were talking about a second ago, right? Like be clear on what your mission and vision is, right? If and again, for the context of our time together, you know, I think before you consider starting a team, I think this piece is really important. I think before you consider joining a team, this part's really important, right? Like sometimes we just do things to do things and they don't really actually move us forward. So when I'm consulting my top agents and I have someone coming in saying, hey, Tim, I'm ready to start a team, you know, let's go. That's the first question I ask. How does this fit within your mission and vision, right? Think big goals and big models. So we're going to talk about that. But I'll share this. I'm not going to go into all of those just for the sake of time. And then this goes back to that mission and vision. So we talked about that already. So the two top things that we're going to dig into, the powered by the big why and the big goals and big models, Gary says those are foundational. And that's kind of what I was just sharing is really before you do anything, those are the things you should be thinking about, right? And then the supportive models are, you know, more tactical, which we'll go through some of these today. And then Melissa, when we do our advanced class, we're going to dig in at a deeper level. But now we're talking about thinking strategically, we're thinking actions and accountability, we're thinking talent, systems, and standards, knowledge, skills, grit, and then ultimately profit, right? Is why we're in business and whatever profit drives for us, right? Whatever it drives for us. So let's dig into the model itself. This is where I want to get a little bit more tactical. So where we just came from was like, okay, we need to acknowledge that models are the way to go, right? And that when we want to go entrepreneurially, we need to lean in. That's foundationally how we start. So now where I want to go is to specifically into the model itself. When we talk about this idea of a team, right? So the first step in this, and here's the thing, guys, just for context, and thank you all for sharing in the beginning. You're all kind of in a different place in this journey. I'm going to go into this next section sort of with the assumption that we either have a team or we're planning to start a team. Is that fair, guys? Just as a context. So first step we want to look at is when doing all you can do, hire administrative help. Now, this is something I see a lot, guys. I see agents that get busy. This may be some of you guys, right? You get busy and you think, gosh, you know, I should probably start a team. And then the first thing you think about in terms of leverage is another agent, right? If any of you, and it's okay, if any of you thought of that as your go-to, is I need to bring on maybe a buyer's agent or maybe a showing specialist or another agent. Has anyone fallen into that like as a first? Okay, I can't see the whole screen, but so this is where we have to really stop ourselves and say that the first thing we want to do is we want to hire administrative help, right? So why is it important to go there first? What do you think?
Because if you hire a buyer's agent or another agent, they're doing the same things that you're doing. And the administrator takes off all the things off of your plate that most of us as entrepreneurs don't like doing. The admin
Exactly.
work,
So
paperwork.
I love that. Yeah. So it comes to scalability, right? You can't scale with that model, right? Because ultimately you'll hit a ceiling and you're not truly running a business then, right? Now, remember what we said a little while ago. What are some of the other benefits of starting with an admin?
Documenting your systems.
Yes, there you go, right? They're going to follow you around right? Because most of us don't have a documented, manual of systems and processes, right? So that's the first step, right? Because when you have that foundation, that's another foundational piece, then you can go hire other agents, right? Now all of a sudden you're at least in a position to start having that conversation. So there's steps in there, right? Now, if I don't want to start a team, what are other options I have for administrative help?
You can hire a VA, you can hire a coach.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, a coach is a great support. I think a VA, you could absolutely hire a VA, right? So, but that's the first step, right, guys? Like that's what Gary says. When you're doing all you can do, hire administrative help. Number two, we talk about we need to hire talent, right? If we're going to build a team, we're going to need to hire talent. So, what's the system we have for hiring talent?
Career visioning.
Provisioning. So that's the other thing too, guys, right? If this is something you're considering, have you gone through career visioning? Now, one thing, like as I coach my agents, and again, I'm coaching them, right? So I'm saying, okay, you need to go through career visioning, right? I wouldn't say it's a requirement, but I'm like, you need to go through career visioning, and we get them signed up for career visioning. So, there's, and I don't know, Melissa, is there any CV coming up there to Canada? Excuse me.
There's supposed to be, but there's nothing on the calendar yet.
Okay, one of the things I know, and I'll share it with Melissa, and you can share it out. They are going to do some virtual career visionings. So if it's not coming up there, and we don't have one scheduled, I think, till fall in my region. There's some virtual ones that you guys can zoom into. But yeah, that's the system for talent. So, if you're considering this journey, career visioning, 100%, I would go through right away. So step one, hire administrative help. Step one, hire administrative help. First thing, two, hire talent. So that's the system we have for hiring talent. We're going to dig into that. And then number three is we need to train and consult. So when you're thinking about building a team, all of a sudden your responsibilities change. And then who do you become when you're running a team?
Leader, or
you become a leader. Yeah, all of a sudden now you're a leader. So back to the mission and vision. Is that part of your mission and vision? Do you want to be a leader? Some of us don't want to be leaders, right? So you're taking that responsibility on, right? Because if we're gonna build a team around us, we have to lead the team. And this is where I see a lot of teams self-destruct, right? Because with love and respect, amazing agent, they don't slow down and lead, right? They don't slow down and lead. So part of that leading is we've got to train and consult. So I'm going to talk about that model as well. But what do you guys see in this so far? Like, is there anything that stands out? And I know you're all in a different place in your journey, but what kind of stands out on this slide? What are you thinking? Oh, do I hear somebody in the training room or no?
just one pressuring the other to answer a question.
Oh, I got it. Okay, well, I don't want to pressure anybody. All right.
Very building focused. Like it's intentional. It's very there's purpose to it. All three of those steps.
Yep. Yeah. And I love that. And that's really what I just want to challenge you guys to think about, because it can seem easy to start a team, and yet these are there's purposeful steps that you're going into. And I believe, this is just my belief system, that it's a responsibility, right? If I'm going to bring someone into my organization, I have a responsibility to develop them and support in driving them to their goals. Would you guys agree with that? So I think that's the other piece. So, so is this, and here's the thing, guys, just full disclosure, there is no motive in this conversation at all, right? So I am a completely neutral person helping you on a journey of self-discovery. right? So it's not about me saying you should start a team, shouldn't start a team, right? There's pros and cons. My goal in this is just to help you self-reflect on wherever you're at in that journey and going, okay, like where am I at and where do I want to be? Does that make sense? So that's really my goal in this. Okay, so let's keep digging in. So this is the organizational model itself. So this is the one, guys, that some of you may have seen and some of you may have not. This is the updated organizational model, which we'll go through. And so again, I think is there anyone that's not seen the organizational model? Okay, you guys are all, okay. So we know level 1 is just you, right? That's where I'm doing things by myself. Level 2, myself and an admin, right? And then level 3 is myself, a lead admin, and then a transaction coordinator. Now, does that look different from the MREA? You guys remember? I don't know if any of you have your books handy.
Yeah, this is the team 1 training Gene Rivers does.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go level 4 is gonna be you, the 2 admins, and then your buyer's agent.
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, Gene River does this. And guys, this is the updated organizational chart that if Gary were to write MREA 2, this would be in that book. You guys with me? So it is different. I'm going to share this with you. So for the person that just spoke, I apologize. I don't remember your name. And what's different in level 3 now?
So the transaction coordinator, and then level 4 is going to be you, the 2 admins, and then you bring on the buyer's agent.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we're going to go next.
But then I would also give a little pushback on the triangle when we start talking about organizational models. This
Yep.
is where I would say you can get all sorts of models.
Yes.
So we
Yep.
started, your discussion is foundational, and for some of us beginning, sure. For some of us who've done all of these trainings, I would say there is a bit flexibility on organizational models when you look at big businesses, especially
Yes.
within our ecosystem of Keller Williams.
Yep, that's well said. And here's where I want to go back. Here's where I would challenge you guys. I would agree with that. And here's what I'll say is level 1 is you, right? So we're clear on what that is. Level 2 is you and an admin. I think that is a foundational model that we don't want to mess with, right? So I think we do start with you and then we go to that admin, right? So, and when do we hire an admin? We hire an admin, this is what Gary says, right? When we're doing everything we can, and now it's time to bring that person in to leverage. Now, I would argue too, bring that person in sooner than later, right? If it makes sense in your business, you don't have to wait until you're buried, right? You can bring them in earlier. So you and that admin, and then level 3 is interesting, right? Because now you've got that admin is now a lead admin, right? Notice what happened there. And there's a journey in this too, in this new org model. We've got a lead admin and then we have a transaction coordinator. So what do you guys see in that? You go from level 2 to level 3. What do you see in that in terms of the people?
Structure is set up so that your lead admin can then move up in their positions. For instance, going from an admin to a lead admin and maybe to a DOO.
Yep. Yep. So we provided an opportunity for someone, right? Because part of this is developing our people. How do we keep good people? We have to create opportunities.
Correct.
Right. One of the top reasons people leave teams is I found a better opportunity, or there is opportunity, or there's some way I can advance, right? It goes back to the vision, right? So when you have a team, you've got like that vision. If we're going to lead people, that's super important, right? Like we're going to bring in and keep talented people. We have to have a big vision and be able to articulate it, and then have a map for opportunity, right?
And
so that admin became a lead admin.
Also say based on the organizational model and your mission and vision, perhaps it's not to do 120 ends yourself or with just 2 admin or 4 admin. Everyone's, my opinion, everyone who builds a team has a different vision and goal based on what they want to do.
Yeah, that's back. Yep, that's back to what we said, right? You got to be clear on what it is that you want, and then everything filters through that. So now you've got the lead admin, and then you have a transaction coordinator, right? We're gonna dig more into this in the next session, into the specifics around this. Level 4, this is where, you know, it is interesting, right? You've got a part 1 and a part 2, so you can, you know, we built in an ISA model. We built in level 2 as a lead manager, right? Back to value proposition, opportunity, you know, bringing in talent, right? You got to provide them with the vision. You got to provide them with opportunity. Do we have to provide them with leads? Right?
Yes.
James, we talked about that, right? Like that's one of the reasons people will join teams is leads, right? Is that part of the value proposition? Right? So
Get me
yep. So we have to look at that, right? We have to look at that and what does that look like? So, and then I'm not going to go through all of these that are super high level today, guys. I'm going to send these to you, and then part 2 we'll dig in on this. This is level 5. So now we've moved into a lead manager. We've got a director of operations. We've got a lead buyer's agent with showing assistance. So in level 5, guys, what is it that you're doing? The you in that, the us,
managing
right?
all of those people. Almost all.
Well, we've got 3 direct reports. What are we still doing beyond the leadership? What are we still doing?
Doing transactions, selling, and still making money.
Yeah, we're still the rainmaker, right? We're still doing all those activities, and we've got 3 direct reports, right? So that's the other decision point, guys, right? Like here's the thing: if you're looking to build a team, you don't have. There's no, I must get to a certain level. That's not a thing, right? Like you go in based on what it is that your mission and vision are driving towards, and you decide what level you want to get at. Like, you know, our team right now, we're at a, I'm going to go back. You know, we're on a level 4 essentially right now. And, you know, we're happy with that. Right, that's funding what we want, and that's providing the lifestyle we want, and it fits into our mission and vision. So like for me, I'm not going to go beyond that, right? So I just want to stress that, because it's not, you know, you have to figure out what the journey looks like for you. So here's level 5, and again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Level 6, now all of a sudden at level 6 we move into a director of sales. So now we're pulling ourselves out of the business. Gary talks about working on the business versus in the business. So now we're pulling ourselves out of the business at level 6, starting to, right? And then level 7 is that next level, right? So now all of a sudden we've got a CEO of the organization, and you know this is now a big business. But again, this piece isn't for everybody, right? So what do you kind of, you know, as you're thinking about your journey, I'm going to go back here. Where are you thinking, like, let me ask the question this way. What thoughts are going through your head around where you're at on your journey in respect to the models? What are you thinking? What comes to mind? Or what work do you have to do? This is a good question. What homework do you have to do on it?
Be honest, Tim, I feel this is very like fundamental, basic. I feel like, again, depending on whether you're considering it versus whether you're in it, that's where these models and what we've talked about so far.
Yep. Yeah. And like I said, it is, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I think it does depend on where you're at. It is fundamental, right? Because Melissa, Laura Lee, that's where we wanted to start this, right? Just as a baseline of like, what are the things we should be thinking about, right? We're more in the thinking versus the doing right now, right? Like, what are the things we should be thinking about based on where we are, right? So love that you said that. For those of you that have a team structure, if I can put you guys on the spot, What are you thinking based on what we talked about so far are things you need to work on, or what are some next steps for you guys?
Need to make a decision if I'm doing an in-person admin or a VA.
Okay, love that. So in that piece, what's going to help you decide that?
Not really sure.
You have to make
Is
a
the honest answer.
You have to make a list of the things that you want to have taken on, and it also comes down to an expense too for your business. That's a big question for a lot of us. That's half the reason you ask that question.
And it is learning from other people's experience for what I'm looking for, whether they're had a more positive experience and beneficial experience with a VA or an in-person. Man. Because there's no side.
Yeah, no, I think both of those things are.
What you're looking for in your admin as well. Like a cyberbacker will work really great in some situations, but if you want somebody that's able to go and do something for you face to face, that's not going to work. Right. So it's figuring out what's the actual role and the detailed role that I'm looking at. I think that's,
So
Yeah.
that's the piece you have to dig further into.
Yeah.
It's what are the must use for the person in the role.
and depending on the day, Melissa, will
Yeah.
depend on what that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think, one of the questions I asked, what's the first domino you can topple over to attack that? And I think you guys are already talking about it. I think it's getting clear on what you need. And again, yeah, some days every day is different, but I mean, just fundamentally what you need and kind of what the most important pieces are to tackle first, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It
it does,
does.
Tim. And then you're talking about communicating amongst y'all on accountability and how, and all these tasks. And
Yeah.
I'm finding command is becoming more and more my central point to be able to talk to them all so that we can keep on top of it, top of everything in a timely and efficient manner. It's helping me a lot that way to communicate with my other two members there, the admin and my buyer agent.
Yeah.
Communication's key. Like you got all these nice ideas and then you're implementing, and then you've got to make sure you're all working towards, it's the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody
Making money. And
Here
all the
are
costs in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Here would be my challenge, and thank you guys for this dialogue. My challenge for you guys is, as we're going through this, kind of like we talked about at the beginning, write some of these things down, right? And then, and that's where Laura Lee and Melissa and the leadership team, like I'm willing to help any way I can help you guys individually dig in. Like and I'm always about like, what's the first domino? What's the first thing we need to look at? And then chunk it down, right? Because that's the other thing with this, guys. It can be really overwhelming, right? Like where is it do I start? And so I think it just chunking it down that way, I think is really key. So I'm gonna go beyond this here, and again I'll share all this with you guys. I want to talk a little bit about talent because we're talking about hiring right now too, and this is I think super important. And again, this comes from career visioning, but I think it's worth stating again. And I have this actually posted on my wall in my office to remind myself often. This is what talent looks like. And so if you have a team right now, I would, as I'm going through this, reflect on the people on your team. Where do they show up? And then if you don't, just think about like this is foundational in terms of hiring talent, right? So talent pushes to get answers, shares your goals, fulfills your needs as a natural byproduct of fulfilling their own, right? So that means they have big goals. That means that like with leadership, like we talk about this a lot, right? My team's goals to get what they want are actually, when they achieve their goals, let me say it this way, when my team achieves their goals, and again, this goes back to the why too, like what's the significance of it? When they achieve their goals, I achieve my goals. So I'll give you a specific example just for context. I have one of my team leaders on my, and this is in the market center, but it works the same in teams, guys. I have one of my leaders in my market center, team leader, whose goal this year is to buy a summer, excuse me, a summer lake house. And so she's got the like a picture of this ideal house that she wants in her office, right? That's her focus point. So as her leader, I came in and said, oh my God, this is amazing. What will it take for you to achieve that this year? So we chunked it down, right? We said, how much money will you need for your down payment? So we figured it out, right? I said, did you look at some listings in this area? So we looked at listings. I said, great. So what the average price is this. How much will you need for your down payment? So her goal is all around that. When I'm coaching her, right, I'm coaching her to that goal. So it'd be like, Melissa, okay, let's look at your results for this week. You did this, this, and this. Okay, are you ahead or behind? Well, I'm behind. Okay. So how far behind are you? Because her goal, I can't remember what the number is off the top of my head, but there's a certain dollar amount each month she needs to make in bonus. So I said, okay, you're short that amount, right? So, and then I motivate her around what she really wants, right? Where you're buying that place in October. You need to, right? We need to close the gap. So she's working as hard as she can for her goal. You see where I'm going? That guy's like, I'm not even talking about my goal or the market center goal.
Taking
Talking about her goal, because
life by design and working it back.
yeah, because I could be talking to her about the market center goal. Like, hey, the goal is to get X amount this month and you're behind on the market center goal, right? No, I'm talking to her about her goal because I know when she gets that, I'll get the goal that we need in the market center. So shares your goal and fulfills your needs as a natural byproduct of fulfilling their own. So we need to first be clear on what their goals are. Guys, this is even for admins, right? Like I keep using Camille on here because she's my sidekick and my EA. I know what her goals are, right? I know what her goals are. So that's a key piece. Next point is knows what it wants or is actively searching to know, right? So we may not know what we want yet, right? But we're on that journey. They push us consistently as leaders, right? That can be a mixed bag, right? Like it depends on how you look at that. You may say, oh my God, this is annoying. Why do they keep pushing me? Right? Got to have a context for that. If they're pushing you around activities and growth and their growth, that's a positive, right? That's talent. And they're continually raising the bar and wants to be associated with talent. So let's look at the other side. Oh, go ahead.
It's like having agents in your market center that constantly push leadership to bring in more training so that we can do more business.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. We're pushing for growth, right? And here's the other thing. They bring solutions. That's the key too, right? Like we bring solutions. So let's look at the other side really quick. So non-talent, they have to be pushed, right? So you're pushing them. That's not fun, right? That's when you know you have non-talent. You have to push somebody to do something. Now all of a sudden you're taking a job back. And what's horrible about that, guys, is that goes back. This feeds into this thought that some of us have. Does anybody ever have that thought like, I can do it better and no one can do it better than me? Yes, we all do. If we're being honest, it's okay. Does that not feed back into that horrible cycle? Yeah. Oh my God, that's where we get into career visioning. We're slow to hire, we're quick to fire, right? If they're not hitting standards, we move on from them. We don't keep non-talent. Yeah, having to be pushed, we have 2 jobs back. That's bad. Doesn't fulfill your needs and ends up giving you pieces of its job back. Yep, we just talked about that. Doesn't know what it wants and isn't really searching. Yeah. Now, this doesn't mean this is a bad human being, right? They're just not talent, right? Requires you to push it meaning whatever. Requires you to push it. Whatever it is, you have to push it, right? You're dragging them behind. may not know where the existing bar is set or even what bar you're talking about. I say that with a smile. That's kind of funny, right? They're not in tune with what's going on or the goals. So reflect in that, right? I have this chart up because I'm always gut checking myself, right? And now here's the thing, guys, is we can either attract talent or non-talent. That's a harsh comment, but it's true, right? Like we as leaders can either attract talent or non-talent. So how do we attract talent? How do we attract talent, guys?
Do you want the answer?
I think you have to have.
Yes, please, yes.
In order to attract talent, you have to find out, like you've mentioned, you have to find out what their wants and dreams and needs are. By the example you use, by the team leader specifically, you know that she wants that second home, the cottage.
Yep.
In order for the market center to obtain their goals, you want her to obtain her goals. So you ask the questions and you find out her motivation, and that's what you go after. Like you said, you don't ask how many leads she's had or the lag measures, because you're based on what he's looking for. Her goals,
Yep.
her.
Love that. Love that. Yeah. I think here's
That's how
the
you
other
keep
thing.
people motivated.
Yep, you have to keep people motivated. I love that. Here, I love that, and I'm gonna position it a little bit differently. So have you ever heard of the term a talent attractor or a talent magnet? Right? Like this person just attracts talent. Like, you know, and some of you may know people like that, or you may be that person, which is awesome. Here's where I'm going with this too, guys. It's we have to be clear on our mission and vision and values, right? So if we're not clear, right, then that's going to be a challenge. We're not going to attract people in if we're not clear, right? Or another way I'll look at it is like one thing I've been challenging myself on, just to be vulnerable with you guys, is what does that sort of elevator pitch sound like? So if I meet somebody, I meet one of you guys and I'm talking about my world, how do I articulate that? You know, like at a cocktail party, right? Then the reason I just say it that way is, can we articulate it in a way? Are we that clear on the vision? You know, I'll go into market centers sometimes. I do this with my team. My team's all clear on the mission, vision, and values of our market center. The reason I know that is we'll go in and and you know, they know I'm gonna do it. I'll just put them on the spot. But I'll say, hey, if Gary Keller came in here and asked you what's the mission and vision of our market center, you know, as a leader, what I take on is say, would every one of my team members be able to articulate it?
And that's the responsibility of a leader, to cast the vision and to
Yep.
constantly remind your team members of what the vision is.
Exactly. So
You also
tying
need
it back to this
impact what you
conversation.
said.
Yes, I love that. Tying it back to this conversation, guys, this is the piece you take on as a leader. So I think for some of you on the journey that are thinking about, should I, shouldn't I, you know, whatever that looks like, is this something you want to take on, right? Because it is more than just I'm gonna bring a few agents together and we're gonna be a team, right? If we're gonna do this and model, we're actually gonna be a leader. Now, the beauty of this is there's a ton of there's a beauty to this when you're committed to it, because now all of a sudden you have the opportunity to change people's lives. And for me, that's why I got into leadership. Like, I still keep in touch with the first leader that this was back in my corporate world 19 years ago, that I moved, you know, I led through his development. And now, you know, so, you know, whatever that motivation is, that's the beauty of it. But this is all about talent, guys, right? Now, the roles and responsibilities around this too, we just kind of talked about this in a different way, and this is in terms of being the rainmaker in that team, is we talked about the leadership, right? The mission, vision, values, beliefs, we talked about that. Now we talk about accountability, goals, and standards, right? So if we're gonna operate a team, now all of a sudden we're the leader. Excuse me, right, guys? So we have to have accountability, we have to have goals, we have to have standards. right? So that's the next level of that leadership. And then we talk about the capital side of this, right? So we're talking about leadership, we're talking about people, we're talking about capital. In terms of the team perspective, how are we investing in our team members' growth? Then we talk about red light, green light with expenses, and we're not going to go through the economic model. So I'm gonna kind of move on from this slide just to, let me just do this. Here we go. Move forward from that. But this kind of sums this up too, right, guys? So the 3 L's that Gary talks about is working smarter through people, working smarter through systems, working smarter through tools. So to kind of chunk this down, kind of where we've gone on this journey today, first thing we have to look at, right, is that first hire. We're going to go on this journey of the admin, and then we're going to attack our systems through that, right? Then we can start to then work through people, right? So if we want to add to that, we can work through people, and then the tools are going to kind of work hand in hand with the systems, right? The tools are going to work hand in hand with the systems. And now the next piece here too, and I know we've got about 15 minutes left, and I just want to kind of build on what we're doing. When we talk about the value proposition of a team, we already talked about the idea that leads are one of those possible rungs on the value proposition, right? The second, what I want to dig into here is some of the other areas that could be the value proposition, right? Because again, if we build a team, it's kind of like, it's not like Field of Dreams where you say, if we build it, they will come. Not like that, right? Like, if we're going to build a team and we're going to keep talent, because a lot of people, do you ever see somebody build a team and they churn through talent? Maybe for some of you, that's a journey. I know early on, that was my journey. I'll be vulnerable. We churned through some people till we started running the models at a really high level. But here's the thing, you have to be able to articulate the value proposition, right? So here are some examples, and again, I'll send this out, of what a value proposition could look like, right? So a company's value proposition is a list of competitive considerations that illustrates the company's ability to compete in the marketplace. So the company meaning the team. You guys with me? So here's an example of the purpose, right? And I'm not going to read all these to you, but this is more around what they get by being part of your world. So being on a team, right? On that side of it, I could have a more balance in my life, right? I could get the first one's help you net the most money possible with great quality of life. Have more balance in your life. Help you create wealth. Provide opportunities. Again, this is the context of written as a company, but do you see where you guys, as you build this is the first step. Like before you're thinking about having a team, what's the value proposition I'm going to go to market with, right? Like what am I going to go out and go to market with? Why would someone want to be part of my world? And then this is just another list of, these are possible value propositions that you could put out there. So if you're thinking about this, these are just different things, right? That you could provide. So any thoughts on this list? Because there's a lot on here. These are all ways you could provide value. Any thoughts as you look at this? Or for those of you that have teams, maybe you're doing some of these things already, but any feedback or thoughts, or even James thinking about maybe going on a team, what are some of the things on here that are important to you? You look
at, like as I'm reading through this list, it's interesting because I definitely see the advantage of having all these things, but a lot of these I feel like I have at my market center in general.
Yep.
Which is great. It says a lot about where we work to be able to say that.
Yeah.
Most of them are important to me, but like I said, I feel like I'm getting a lot of this at my disposal, just being an independent agent.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because then the question becomes, if I'm hearing that right, and I'm in your market center and I'm building a team, I might say, So that's awesome. So that's really good. That's kudos to the leadership team, right? And how do I, as a team, leverage some of these things in either a different way or at a different level, whereas they'd find value in joining my team? You guys with me? So but this is the reality, right? Because there's gotta be a value proposition if you're looking to build that out, right? Otherwise, we're going into that partnership space.
Tim, I
Yeah.
also feel there's a direct correlation or a lot of similarities to running a market center and running a team. It's like,
Yep.
to me, creating a team is like starting your own brokerage within your brokerage, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yes. 100%. It is. It's and I say the flip to that. And Laura Lee, you can keep me honest if you're back in there. I say that to team leaders all the time, guys. I'm like, guys, being a team leader is like running your real estate team. And it's the same. Running a real estate team is like running a market center. It's the same. Yeah, 100%.
Because a team leader is looking for agents
Mm-hmm.
and managing their agents, and for a realtor, it's looking for clients, buyers and sellers, and managing your buyers and sellers. So there's a lot of direct correlation.
Yes, 100%. All right, so again, I'm going to share these slides so you guys can, further reflect on that. So here's the other thing. I just want to talk a little bit about accountability, and then I want to take some time to kind of get action steps and kind of frame where we're going to go next. This is the accountability loop piece, because this is the other piece of leadership, right? When we're leading others on a team, we first have to set goals. So we have to articulate the goals, right? We do the key activities. So getting into action, then we're measuring results. We're evaluating the process, right? Like, so now that we're getting the results, whether they're good or bad, we're evaluating the process. Then we're making adjustments, right? So that's the other thing around, and we can talk more about this on another call. But this is the accountability feedback loop when leading on your team, right? So there's a responsibility to actually lead, right? And to check in and do that. So, and then these are, and this is just, and this is my last slide on this, and then I want to summarize where we've gone with this. These are the 8 goal categories that Gary talks about. And I put this in here because this is a good context of, again, on this journey of building a team. In that context, these are really the key areas we're focusing on, right? So we're focused on generating leads, listings, of course, buyers, written contracts closed, money, people, systems, tools, and then developing our team and consistent education, right? Remember what we talked about with talent. Talent doesn't want to stagnate. They want to be developed, right? So we have to take responsibility for that. So those are the 8 goal categories of the MREA when it talks
Tim,
about
can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
list?
Yep. Go ahead.
So if you look at that list, perhaps you take out 6 people, would that not be the goals of an individual salesperson?
100%. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. Yep. That's spot on. So what I want to really kind of look at is with you guys, and I know we have a few minutes left, is I know we kind of covered a lot of ground, and Laura Lee and Melissa, when we talked about this, we want to kind of keep this high level. And then again, I attempted to kind of deep dive into a few different areas of this just in this. But again, the purpose of this really is as I go back and look at my notes, and I trust we achieve this, and I definitely want your guys' feedback. Was why, number one, why we want to utilize models, why it's important we want to utilize the model, why it's important we lean into the model, and then get a little clarity on what the models are, right? And then this idea that we have to, really be able to articulate our value. So if we're going to go down this road, we have to be able to articulate our value, and provide value, right? So it's not about saying I have value. It's I have to articulate it and I actually have to provide it, right? And give some thoughts around that. So, Melissa, I know I'm looking at you. Was there anything else you felt like we needed to accomplish, or those are the two things you and I talked about, right?
Yeah, those were the two main things.
Yeah. Yeah. So from your guys' perspectives, would just love some feedback, and again, this slide just talks about like what are, 2 to 3 things you're going to take action on, and what's the action you're going to take, and then tying a timeline to it. So I would love to hear from you guys, what you've taken so far in this. Again, you're all in a different journey, which is cool. But what you took from this, what's the action you're going to take, and then by when are you going to do it? Does anyone want to put themselves out there and share what you're thinking?
What's my SMART goal? He does want your SMART goal.
Yeah, this kind of sounds like a SMART goal, doesn't it? It's a different way of putting it out there. Or if someone wants to start, if you don't want to give me your whole SMART goal.
I think we have a few that are considering hiring admins.
Okay.
In this room. No, that's a fact.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The timeline that I have not put on it yet.
Okay. So is there anything from our time this morning that you're going to take action that's going to help and support you in hiring an admin?
It's been a good review of all of the things that I know I need to do and of the current questions. Because to be honest, Tim, like I sent email to 5 or 6 people within the brokerage already a couple of days ago regarding VA versus in person, and what was your experience and what.
Mm-hmm.
So it's following up with that and then researching some additional options that are local in the area that are maybe specific to not just an admin, but maybe it's social media and that component, and having that taken care of. And so trying to figure out what is the option that is going to be best for me, that's going to leverage, I need leveraged, and take that off my plate, so I don't need to do it.
Yep, love it. Love it.
So I don't have a timeline on it, but I know the timeline is getting short.
Okay.
I don't have an actual date on it yet.
Okay. Yeah, and when you no, I love that. When you look at these things, guys, again, the one thing I hope, if nothing else you take from this, is get clear on your mission and vision and what you're doing. Like, if you have it, like, go back to it and dust it off. If maybe you don't have it, that's okay, but get super clear on like why you're doing what you're doing. And I know for me, whenever I go back to that space, it helps me make decisions on what I'm doing now. Does that make sense?
Tim, that makes perfect sense. And that goes back to me being really fundamental right now about communicating with each other, because you can have models and fairy things all out there, right? And it's the communication amongst the team that's the best. And I found when we were working the best, we were having our regular meetings. Even though I'm sort of family, right? But we still need to have our meetings. We just can't talk random like. You have to sit, okay? So you do a daily meeting, do you have a weekly meeting, whatever, because it's just not me. I'm supposed to be leveraging the others, and the others have brains too. So
I love that you said that.
Where it's not just about like, they're here with me for a reason, and just not genetics, right? And we want to grow. So, and share that. So we have to be talking to each other. And for me, that's the biggest key to keep me accountable. And because we all know on a daily, weekly business, what's going on. Like I can be by myself with my computer and command, but I need to be talking to my folks.
That's so good, because I struggle with that too, guys, because I'm in business with my wife, and that can sometimes be more challenging, right? Because we have to block specific time out to talk about this, because it won't just come up, right? Like we're talking about the kids and doing all that stuff.
Mhm.
So that's so good. You've got to block that time separately.
Too much life in the way, too much life
Yep.
in the way, in a way, and you start to take some things for granted, and you're not really talking effectively, right? And
Yes.
planning. So you've got to take it seriously and have those, if not daily meetings, at least once a week to check in and then be accountable and have deadlines. And
Yep.
commitment can help with that too.
Yes, 100%. Love that. Thank you for sharing. One more. Anyone else want to? Maybe one of my other Zoom people want to come off mute. Anyone want to share what you're going to take action on?
Oh, Alex.
All right.
Anything, Alex?
Alex, we'd like your 2 cents, please and thank you. Were you,
Alex?
did you choose?
Alex,
did
with
you-
your fancy background.
Alex, did you choose to be here or you told to
Alex.
be here?
Alex, I'd like to hear what you say.
Jeez, this is pressure.
You
I
got
think-
you got a fan club there in the room.
Yeah,
I
this
guess
is an
so.
accountability group. Don't worry, we got it covered.
Yeah. Honestly, I've been like very anti-team for quite some time, but I'm starting to lean to the other side of the line a little bit. So this is more of just like a sit in, kind of think about it thing. But it made me realize I'm not ready yet, both from a numbers point and a willing to let go of the reins point.
Okay. So thank you for coming off mute and sharing with the fan club there in the room. What from the what let me see if I can talk. What specifically from the call do you think can help you move forward kind of in your next step, Alex? Or is there anything that kind of in your mind went, yeah, I can add this to the mix and how I'm thinking about it?
Probably mostly like you don't have to build to the point of like a Gene Rivers team, because like that's what I get a lot from a lot of the trains. Like if you're going to start, you have to go to the absolute max. So like hearing that you don't have to go to a 50-person expansion team,
Thank you.
probably nice.
Yes, 100%. Yes, thank you for hearing that. And I know I go against the grain in that sometimes, and there's no right or wrong, but here's the thing, guys, this is all about building our ideal life.
Mhm.
And we all have a different idea of what our ideal life is, as we should, right? We're all individuals. So I'm glad you took that, Alex. And I think the other thing too to think about for all of you guys is just chunk it down, right? This is, we spent an hour and a half. This is a really big topic. Would you guys agree? Like there's a lot of depth we can go to. And we are going to do another class if you guys want to come, where we're going to dig deeper into some of these areas. I think just chunk it down. Like, what's the most important thing if whether I go on this journey or not, what's the most important thing I do this year? And then go down that journey. So Melissa, I don't know if Laura Lee's in the room either, but anything you wanted to say to wrap up, and then do you want to talk about the next session we're going to do?
Yeah, so we've got Tim scheduled for a follow-up session. It's going to be same time on a Wednesday, so June 26th, 11 to 12:30. And we're calling it advanced team training. So like Tim said, the whole goal is to get into more detail, dig deeper into what he just covered today, and kind of go to the next step.
And what I love to do, if I can kind of call a pivot here, or I don't know if it's a pivot, but the thought I had was getting feedback from this group on because there's a lot of areas we can cover, guys, right? I could spend a whole day with you, but maybe we get feedback from this group on what are the specific areas you want to go deeper in. Would that be good? Okay,
I
you're good with
would
that?
say, Tim, there's a lot of people who have questions around what it stems from the value proposition of a team.
Yeah.
But getting we're on the value proposition, because again, I feel like everyone's like, you have to follow the model. There's similarities, but every team is going to offer something different. Everyone has their unique value proposition, as we do as realtors. And specifics around contracts and splits and the value you offer. Because again, I feel like this call you know, someone like James, who's newer in the business, was coming to the call to be like, what are the advantages of being on a team versus maintaining, as my business as a solo agent?
Right.
Also, hats off to Alex Malcolm, who was here and was willing to learn and listen, because it just means he likes to take in information and absorb about future goals. All of us, our goals change, right?
Exactly.
And we all,
Yep.
like the question you asked James, like of course we all have a number that we have to meet to fund our life. However, it comes down to what the value is that we can offer. And I do think of a team, there's a lot of values, because I would attribute being a realtor as, regardless of the market center you're in, you're on an island and you're an independent contractor and you have to swim alone a lot. So to me, there is a value to a team, and I equate it to like a bus. And you can come on board a bus and we're all driving in the same direction and we all have goals, and whatever seat you sit in the bus is what you're good at and what makes you happy, and it's part of the team.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I think that's where we need more guidance on. There
Got
are
it.
people that are in our market center that have teams and aren't on this call. However, I talk to them and we all have very similar struggles.
Got it. Well, so, you know, Melissa, maybe you can support me on this. Can you collect that feedback from those that were here, and you can collect it more broadly too, however you want to do that, and then we can connect back on that. And then, you know, my commitment to you guys is we'll dig specifically into that and what you guys need, and kind of look at how the feedback comes in. Does that sound fair? Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, thank you for the time. I hope that, again, everyone took something for this. I do want to say before I go, super proud of all the work you guys are doing. You guys are crushing it. And, you know, I know you guys know you're a top market center, but it's just, you know, I just want to say that you guys are doing amazing things and making a huge impact in the Keller Williams world through your results and everything y'all are doing as a market center. So keep up the awesome work, and it's a privilege and honor to be working with you guys.
Thank you.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.